There's a silence before a storm turns the tide of war. In that silence, some tremble, some hesitate, and some stand tall. What separates the trembling from the triumphant is not talent, not resources, not fate. It's how they move before victory arrives. It's how they speak before the crowd believes. It's how they behave when no applause is echoing, when no one's watching and the battle still rages inside. Understand this now. The battle you're facing, whether it's for your dreams, your purpose, your legacy, is not won when others tell you so. It's won the moment you decide, deep in your soul, to behave like the outcome is already yours. Before the scoreboard reflects it, before the crown rests on your head, before the mountain bows beneath your feet, behave like you've already won the battle, because when you do, the world responds differently. Not because it suddenly becomes easy, but because you become undeniable. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for a sign. You are the sign. You are the signal. You are the thunder before the lightning. Look back through history. The true greats weren't the ones who waited until the end to act like winners. They didn't request confirmation. They didn't negotiate belief. They assumed the posture of victory long before reality mirrored it. Walt Disney walked among orange groves speaking of castles and kingdoms, while others rolled their eyes. Muhammad Ali called himself the greatest, not after his first title, but before a single punch was thrown. Steve Jobs stood on stage selling futures before the product even existed. And Abraham Lincoln, beaten down by a dozen failures, still carried himself like a president long before he ever wore the title. Why? Because they understood this. Behavior shapes reality, not the other way around. Most people are waiting for someone to crown them before they walk like kings, waiting for results before they change their routine, waiting for confidence to rise from outcomes instead of forging it through action. But the ones who win, the real warriors, don't operate that way. They step into the arena already claiming the win. It starts with belief, not the kind you whisper quietly to yourself when things go well, but the kind that roars through your chest when everything's crumbling and you still refuse to retreat. That belief becomes behavior, and behavior becomes fate. You see, the mind is a battlefield, and most people lose there long before they lose out here. They speak like losers. They move like victims. They wake up dreading the day, praying the winds will shift, instead of becoming the wind, but not you. You're not here to blend in with doubt. You're here to stand out in absolute conviction. You must wake up every day and behave like a champion before the title is assigned. When you rise in the morning, don't ask, will today be good to me? Ask, how will I dominate it? When you walk into a room, don't shrink into smallness. Enter with the quiet confidence of someone who has already conquered themselves, because that's the real battle, not the economy, not your past, not your competition. The real battle is you versus your old self, the version of you that settles, that hesitates, that waits for proof instead of creating it. You want to rise? Then act like the version of you who's already risen. Don't just say you want it. Move like it's yours. Speak like it's done. Plan like you're already there. Invest like the outcome is guaranteed. Because guess what? That energy, that certainty becomes magnetic. People feel it. They don't trust words. They trust vibration. They trust presence. They trust the way you look at them, the way you shake their hand, the way you handle setbacks like they're nothing but stepping stones. You can't fake that. You must become that. You must become the future you now, not tomorrow, not when the bank account fills, not when the approval rolls in, right now. Because time bends for those who behave with clarity. The universe reorganizes itself around certainty. Doors open, people shift, circumstances yield, but only to those who've already crossed the line in their own mind. That's the secret no one tells you. It's not about hustle without direction. It's not about positive thinking without identity transformation. It's about being the outcome energetically, physically, and emotionally before the world catches up. Behaving like you've won doesn't mean pretending. It means remembering who you were before the world taught you fear. It means reclaiming the authority you handed over to doubt. It means becoming too consistent to be ignored, too certain to be shaken, too disciplined to be defeated. Because the truth is, every day is a battlefield. Not a battlefield of swords and shields, but of habits, thoughts, and focus. So ask yourself, how does a winner carry themselves when no one is watching? How does someone behave when they've already won in their mind? They don't check the scoreboard every 5 seconds. They don't beg for applause. They train like champions. They prepare like professionals. They hold the line, not because it's easy, but because their standard demands it. Victory is not a reward. It's a consequence, a byproduct of consistent, intentional behavior. So behave like you've already won. Walk like it, speak like it, move like it, not once, not when you feel good, every single day, especially on the days you don't, because that's when the real magic happens, when no one sees it, when no one believes it, when no one claps for it, and you do it anyway. That's when identity is carved in stone. That's when kings are forged. That's when empires begin, in the dark, in the silence, with a whisper of belief and a roar of action. And if you're thinking, but I'm not there yet, let me stop you right there. You're already there the moment you decide to be. Let the world catch up later. You don't wait until you're fit to start training like an athlete. You train like one and become one. You don't wait until you're rich to manage money like the wealthy. You manage money with discipline and wealth begins to flow. You don't wait until people believe in you to lead. You lead with courage, and others start to follow. The world doesn't respond to your desire. It responds to your demonstration. When you behave like you've already won, you activate something primal inside of you. You silence the noise. You take your foot off the brake. You stop negotiating with doubt. And you move with force like a river that's decided it will reach the ocean no matter what mountain stands in its way. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is what Edison understood when he failed 10,000 times. He wasn't trying. He wasn't hoping. He was behaving like someone who had already succeeded in discovering the electric light. He was just identifying the path to get there. Every failure, just a breadcrumb on the trail to inevitability. He never wore the cloak of defeat. He never picked up the language of loss. He spoke of his work as a man whose vision was already built in his mind. It wasn't if, it was when. And when energy is the most powerful energy on earth, because it removes hesitation. It removes the back door. It removes the option of retreat. Acting as if is not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about stepping into what you've suppressed. It's about refusing to wait for external validation to begin internal transformation. Think about a warrior, a true one, not the loud posturing kind, the quiet, focused kind, the kind whose confidence is carved from discipline, who sharpens their sword not for display, but because they know war comes without warning, who walks into the arena with calm fire in their eyes, not because they know they'll win every battle, but because they've already accepted who they must be, win or lose. That's power. And that power is available to you the moment you stop acting like a contestant in your own life and start behaving like the architect of it. Start now. Speak like the version of you who has already arrived. That version doesn't justify, doesn't shrink, doesn't apologize for taking up space. That version commands attention with quiet strength. That version walks into rooms like they belong, not because they're better than anyone, but because they've done the work. They've paid in pain, persistence, and preparation. You have to start carrying yourself like you've already won, because your nervous system doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. Every time you visualize victory, you install new pathways. Every time you act like the future version of yourself, you reinforce belief. you condition greatness. You train yourselves to expect more, deliver more, attract more. It's neuroscience. It's psychology. And it's how history's greatest icons rose while others stayed grounded. Take Carnegie, a man born into poverty, no education, no wealth, no status. But he didn't carry himself like a victim of his surroundings. He carried himself like a man building an empire. And so he did. He surrounded himself with thinkers greater than himself. He spoke with clarity about visions others couldn't see. He behaved like a king before the world offered him a throne. And the world eventually agreed, because the world doesn't crown the most talented. It crowns the most certain. So you must stop begging life for permission. You must stop asking the world if you're ready. You decide that. And the moment you decide, you change your posture. You change your tone. You raise your standards. You drop the dead weight of your past and pick up the armor of your future. You stop reacting and start creating. When something goes wrong, you don't spiral. You adapt. When a door closes, you don't knock twice. You build a better one. When the world doubts you, you smile because you know the secret. You've already won in your mind, and the rest of the world is just catching up. This is how the few rise above the many, not by waiting for victory, but by behaving as if it's already been written. Every great empire begins as a single decision, a moment of absolute inner clarity where someone says, "Enough. I will no longer live beneath my potential. I will no longer act according to my limitations. I will become what I was born to be." It's not just belief, it's behavior. And behavior changes biology. It rewires patterns. It overpowers fear. It rewrites destiny. So the next time you face resistance, don't flinch. Don't retreat. Stand taller. Speak clearer. Move faster. Be the one who's already crossed the finish line, and the ground beneath you will begin to shift. Because when you behave like you've already won, something strange happens. You start to. There's a storm coming, and it's not outside you. It's within you. The storm of awakening, the surge of decision. Most drift through life hoping for better weather, but those who rise, those who shape destiny, they become the storm. They don't wait for change, they are the change. They don't chase success. They draw it toward them through force of presence. And presence is built through repetition, through ritual, through daily choices stacked with intention. That's what people miss. They think behaving like they've won means putting on a show. It doesn't. It means ordering your life around your purpose. It means waking up before the sun and giving thanks for the goals you've already claimed. It means structuring your time like someone who has something priceless to protect. It means saying no to distractions, not because you're strict, but because your mission leaves no room for waste. Champions don't rise through chaos. They rise through order, self-imposed, self-maintained, and non-negotiable. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not always Instagram-worthy. It's quiet, ruthless, relentless. Success doesn't come because you want it bad. It comes because you behave in a way that proves you're ready. When you walk into a room, you don't need to announce your worth. Your energy does that for you. When you speak, your voice doesn't waver because you've rehearsed this belief behind closed doors, when no one clapped, when no one noticed, when no one cared. And that's when the real battle is fought, in private, in solitude, in those brutal hours where quitting feels easier than continuing. But you keep going. You behave like a winner, even when you're losing, especially when you're losing, because you understand storms don't last, but warriors do. Look at Lincoln, defeated again and again, personally, professionally, politically. By every metric, he should have collapsed, but he didn't just endure, he evolved. He behaved like a leader long before the title arrived. And when history came calling, he was ready. Not because he hoped for greatness, but because he'd become it. The future belongs to those who act from destiny, not desperation. So ask yourself honestly, are you behaving like the person you want to become, or are you waiting for a sign, for permission, for proof. Because the truth is, the way you show up today is a vote for the life you'll live tomorrow. And every time you hit snooze on your potential, every time you betray your inner greatness to stay comfortable, you lose that vote. You hand it over to mediocrity. You cast your ballot for regret. But every time you rise, when it's hard, when it's lonely, when it's dark, you vote for your higher self. You vote for greatness. You vote for the life that's already yours, if you're willing to act like it. That's what separates contenders from champions. Not talent, not timing, not luck, but the behavior of belief. Because behavior doesn't lie. It's the purest expression of what you truly think about yourself. You can say you want success, but if your actions reflect fear, self-doubt, and inconsistency, what are you actually declaring? The battle is not won on game day. It's won in the unnoticed hours, in the reps, the rituals, the refusal to break. When you behave like you've already won, you send a signal to your nervous system, to your subconscious mind, to the very fabric of reality, I'm ready. And when readiness meets belief, momentum is born. You stop needing motivation. You become the motivation. You stop needing the fire. You become the spark. This is not theory. This is law. This is the physics of human performance. This is the blueprint followed by every titan of history who ever rose from the dirt to the throne. They walked like it. They talked like it. They prepared like it. They endured like it. And eventually, the world believed them. But the world is always the last to believe. You must go first. Go first into the storm. Go first into the doubt. Go first into the fire of discomfort, because greatness is forged in places where most refuse to walk. And while they wait for safety, you build strength. While they look for signs, you create signals. While they chase feelings, you master behavior. Understand this: the body doesn't always feel ready. The mind doesn't always feel sure, but you are not ruled by feelings. You are ruled by decision. Winners don't consult their emotions before taking action. They consult their standards. And their standards are not based on how they feel. They're based on who they've decided to be. You want to shift your identity? Don't affirm it. Embody it. Don't say, I want to be confident. Walk like confidence. Breathe like confidence. Own the room without speaking a word, because energy never lies. The most dangerous person in any room isn't the loudest. It's the one who carries themselves like they've already made it, because they have in their mind. And what's done in the mind becomes done in time. That's what the average never understand. They wait for results before acting differently. You behave differently and create the results. Look at Ray Kroc, a 52-year-old milkshake machine salesman. Most would have accepted their fate by then. Most would have folded the dream neatly and stored it in a drawer labeled "Too Late." But not Kroc. When he saw the McDonald Brothers restaurant, he didn't just see what was, he saw what could be. And from that moment forward, he behaved like the CEO of a global empire. Before the ink dried, before the deals were signed, before the first franchise was even born, his thoughts were congruent with his actions congruent with his future. And because of that, reality had no choice but to yield. That's the secret most miss. The law of identity is stronger than the law of attraction, because who you are being determines what you're allowing. When you behave like you've won, the universe doesn't argue. It aligns. It brings people, ideas, opportunities, not out of pity, but out of recognition. Recognition of what you already are. But this requires courage, because behaving like a champion when you're still surrounded by setbacks, that's the kind of madness that scares the small-minded. They'll call you arrogant, delusional, out of touch. Let them. Because history was never written by the realists. It was written by those who behaved as if the impossible was already done and then proved it. So what does that look like today? It means doing the hard things without being asked. It means dressing like the leader even if no one calls you one yet. It means holding posture when others bend. It means speaking last, listening more, and acting without delay. It means showing up when your excuses scream louder than your goals. It means training your mind every morning before the world has a chance to train it for you. And above all, it means refusing to betray your future self for the comfort of your current one. This is how you behave like you've already won the battle, by honoring your vision like it's law, by treating every small task like it's a ceremony of excellence, by choosing alignment over approval, by choosing courage over comfort, and by choosing who you want to be over what you currently see, because what you currently see is just the echo of who you used to be. But who you're becoming, that's the thunder rolling in. And when that storm hits, when the crowd finally notices, when the world finally wakes up to what you've known all along, you won't be surprised, because you've already been walking like it. You've already been talking like it. You've already been living like it. You didn't wait to be crowned. You built the crown. And now that crown, it fits, doesn't it? Because you shaped it in fire. You hammered it with discipline. You polished it with silence. You wore it in the dark when no one clapped, when no one looked, when no one believed. That is what makes you untouchable. You're no longer moved by noise or silence, praise or doubt, because your behavior is no longer reactive. It's rooted in a decision so deep no storm can rip it out. And that's the kind of power the world feels before it sees. That's the kind of energy that bends reality. That's the kind of presence that walks into a room and shifts the temperature, because people know this one is different, not louder, not flashier, just certain, just grounded, just built. This is what happens when you stop trying to impress and start choosing to express. This is what happens when you stop proving your worth and start embodying your destiny. You're not climbing to become something. You're rising to remember something, that you were always worthy, always chosen, always enough. You just forgot. You just listened to the world for too long. You just gave your crown to fear. But now you walk different. Now you rise earlier. Now you speak clearer. Now you act like someone who's already won, because in your mind, heart, and soul, you have. You're no longer running toward victory. You're running from it, carrying it within you like fire. This is how great leaders move. They don't wait for strategy to align. They move and strategy follows. They don't need the path to be paved. They walk and the path reveals itself. They don't need confirmation. Their breath, their eyes, their discipline, that is confirmation. And that's who you are now. A force of nature, a beacon, a standard. Because once you've behaved like you've already won the battle, you become the one others follow into the fire. Your behavior becomes prophecy. Your posture becomes persuasion. Your presence becomes permission and for others to rise. This is no longer about you. It never was. Your victory is a torch, one that lights the way for those too afraid to take the first step. So carry it boldly, not with arrogance, but with reverence, because the way you behave when you're tired, when you're tested, when no one's watching, that is what shapes legacies. So here is your moment. The battle is still raging, the path still winding, the summit still unseen. But you're already moving like you've reached it. You've chosen to live as the final version of yourself now. And that, more than anything, is what guarantees the outcome. So don't look back. Don't shrink. Don't wait. Behave like you've already won the battle, and watch how the universe surrenders, not out of mercy, but out of respect. Because respect is not given to the loudest. It's given to the most aligned, to the one who walks in truth while others trip over trends, to the one who doesn't just talk about standards, but is the standard. You want the world to rise for you? Then rise for yourself. Stand when it's easier to fold. Lead when it's easier to follow. Create when it's easier to consume. Discipline yourself when comfort whispers your name like a lullaby. You have no use for temporary applause. You're not chasing claps. You're chasing character. You've outgrown the need for motivation. You've stepped into a higher game, one ruled by identity. And identity is action repeated. Not once, not twice, but daily. When it's cold, when you're tired, when it feels like no progress is happening. That's when your future self is watching most. The part of you who already lives in that dream, who already breathes the air of purpose, who already commands the table, builds the empire, writes the history. She's watching. He's watching. They're waiting for you to stop wavering and start behaving like the battle is already behind you. And it is, because you're not here to wonder if you'll make it. You're here to realize you already have. The blueprint was never outside you. It's been coded into your spirit since the beginning. It's why the dream won't leave you. It's why the calling still wakes you up at 3 a.m. It's why you keep getting glimpses of a life that others call unrealistic. That life is not a fantasy. It's a memory of the person you're meant to return to. So return. Return with fire. Return with silence. Return with daily proof. Let every move you make from this moment forward be a reflection of the truth. You've already won the battle. Now you're just walking out the victory. And as you walk, head high, shoulders back, vision clear, remember this. No one will crown you if you don't first anoint yourself. So anoint yourself, not with ego, but with execution, not with titles, but with truth, not with noise, but with sacred consistency. You are not becoming. You are revealing. You are not chasing the win. You are the win. So walk like it, speak like it, live like it, behave like you've already won the battle. And one day, the world will rise to confirm what you've known all along.